a drawing of a paint. It's actually a painting, which I took it in black and white. But what I want, the reason to get it from, not from life, but from a painting, is that from life you will have all defined. You will see all the details. You will see less shadows, less dark shadows, maybe dark as that, but you see a lot more detail. You see the eyes, the nipple here, well, nipple there, the eyebrows. So you will go and you will get involved a lot more with the face. But in this case, it's much better to do it this way. It's much simpler. And as we normally start, as I normally start, will be, look, having the head, there's an angle of that like that. Then you have the hand, arm, body, this side of the thigh, her right thigh, and the left thigh here. So that's basically the gist of the pose. It's that's what you could start doing. And then obviously you have the other arm here, which is, you have the elbow down here, the elbow, breast here, rib cage, which it's basically, you can treat it with a straight down line like this, lower down line, and then you have background with the rib cage here, then you have the rib cage there, and instead of doing anything onto that side, you can actually draw or give it a shadow to the background. There you are. There you have the pose. That's basically the most simplified version of what we see, which is not too far off with what we see there, because it's very, also it's a very abstract, kind of abstract approach of the original. I mean, the girl sitting there, obviously you will see a lot more details as we said, but the artist simplified it really in a, well, that comes with a lot more. The more you work, the more you know how to simplify it and to what to look for. Now, another way of seeing it or looking where the kneecaps are is basically checking the top, the end of the head, and drop a vertical line. So the end of the head here, drop a vertical line here, and then you have one way of finding out where the calf is. This will be the end of the kneecap. Here I can see it's kind of, look, if you go closely, it's kind of like a brick in this area, look, this one here. And then you have the shadow of her body, look here, down here. That's a bit more solid shadow than that one here, which is the body. Kind of a softer shadow here. Then you have that area of the thigh is in shadow too, at the top leg, or the top of the thigh. Then crotch area, a bit more rounded here on the hip. Head moving down here, it's right onto the shoulder area, the head. The tip of the head, or the tip of the chin is right here, chin, right here. And then you have hair moving there, the eyelid area, and the mouth. And again, it's not a portrait, so don't overdo it. Don't work too much on the portrait, because it's not a portrait, it's a live drawing. And then you have that line here, which is basically her shoulder. No, this one here. The what that is, the
ribcage, triceps.
No, just under the breast. This one.
Armpit.
Armpit. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Armpit. Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
20 questions.
Yeah.
There you have. And you have, oh yeah, here, this one, that's quite high up, far away. Look, this one it's way further. If you drop a vertical line again, right there, it's way further than, so that is right here, right there. And then you have the breast, the arm, and then the hand itself here. Now, how to sort this out? Because that's not easy to sort out and to work on individual features, because it's better to do it what I'm going to explain you now, basically. If I'm working on that hand, which is basically on the opposite side, that hand, it's like that. But how do you draw that? Well, if you see it, it's all in dark. So if I isolate that hand and do it this way, look, then you have the arm, also the wrist, and then you have the fingers here coming straight down here, and then you have, there's a peak of the middle finger, which is there, peak. So it's kind of, look, it's like a triangular shape. So it comes from down there, there. That's where the thumb should be, or could be. Then you have the fingers themselves, and that's the palm of the hand. There you have the the wrist, and what else? Then you have the elbow. Sorry, the elbow. Yeah, and then this one here. So if I was going to draw the hand separately, this is what I would have come up or with, and then a little bit more lighter tone here, which is the palm, and you can work on the fingers themselves. Look where they separate. 1, 2, 3. And even if you see them drawing, there's not much more information than that. So do not spend too much time. Well, another thing I should have done is to get closer to the arm here, the upper arm here, and a little bit darker, obviously darker here, to show the muscle, and the elbow here. So here, do not spend too much time on drawing everything you see, because you can't. It's isolate the fingers and a general dark shadow, and you're on your way to finish it off and go somewhere else. There.
I can't see how she's got her arm and hand like that. How she's got that back and then bent at the wrist and then with the palm up. If you try and do it, it's very difficult.
Well,
She's probably doing that, isn't she?
she's doing this. Yeah, she's doing that thing. She's doing that. So you can see the palm. The palm is doing that. So this one here, it's her palm,
like that, isn't it?
and these are the fingers.
Her elbows in the wrong place.
But if in drawing,
Up like that, and then round like that. That's the way she's doing it.
How would she stay there like that? I mean, she couldn't possibly stay there more like for 1 second.
And then the
Well,
other one's
no.
up like that.
no, the way that the pose that she's taking, basically, she's doing this. It's obviously she's a model, so they used to take difficult poses.
Almost like you're doing a defensive
Oh,
Yeah. karate type
Yeah.
thing.
And then here, and then obviously a little bit thinner here.
Like that.
Yeah, no, I can see. Yeah, it's basically, look, these are the fingers. Huh? There you have it, and they do. It's a lot of a dark shadow right down here. Look, and then you have
Yes.
the thumb, middle finger, ring finger, pinky, and as I said, the palm of the hand, and then darker on that side. This is what I would have, and obviously with the putty rubber. It's not that you don't use the putty rubber. You use the putty rubber when you need to, like that, and then you have highlight on the top of the finger, which is the knuckles here. Look, see, that will show you more of the knuckle if I do it this way. See, a little bit of highlight on the knuckle here, and then you have that. 2, 3. I think hopefully it makes a bit more sense now. You see what I'm doing? Huh? And then lighter in between the two, the negative shape. Negative shape is this one here, and in between the arm and the wrist, and more a bit of a round shape here. There you are. So, and then on the portrait itself, if you want to be a bit more precise and a bit more informative, give information to the viewer, it's basically started with a little bit here, basically down here, so I can have more space for the hair. And you got the hair here, triangle shape of the hair, shadow for the face, hair comes down here, forehead, eyelid, no, eyebrow, eyelid, nose, mouth, chin, and then you have the shadow, the cast shadow of the head onto the neck, dark area here, forehead, hair, a bit of a lighter tone here onto the forehead, and then you have that area which is basically the other side of the face, and the hair on this side. Obviously get this eyebrow a little bit lighter because it's just too dark, and the eye cavity a bit darker, darker here, darker, and obviously get this. So this is what I would have come up, even on a small scale. You don't need more information than that. That's more than enough. And then obviously hair, you can play around with the hair, a lighter here and darker at the back here. See what I mean? You can still see it's a female because of the hair, obviously. And not much more than that, because again, it's not a portrait. And it doesn't give you much more information because again, the artist was not focusing on doing Lisa, if we give her a name. It was focusing on doing a human being. And obviously you have to distinguish if it's a male or female. If you want to be a little bit more informative, want to give him a lot more information, obviously you can spend a bit more time. But basically, even on a big scale, even on a larger, because you cannot draw it on your A4 size paper, the head like this, but even if I'm focused on the head, you see, even that, it makes sense. Obviously you might say, well, it's not a good drawing. Yeah, but it's not about being a good drawing, it's about, you can still see it's a female, and the shadows sideways, the cast shadows, the middle tones that I have here. The cast shadow is this one. The cast shadow is this one here on the neck and her body. And then you have that finger. Look, that hand moves. It's very, very close to the head, and you have the pinky moving that way. Dark shadow, and then you have the other palm that we were talking earlier on. That's the elbow, that's the shoulder, the other shoulder, and you can work with other soft tones here. And this line could go a little bit less bright, like that, look. Do you see? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then obviously working on that arm here, which is again, I'm coming back to this one, but it's like a continuation of that line. Look, it joins with the other one. It's not a perfect, obviously, line, but it is a sort of continuous like that. And you have the elbow of the other hand, the other arm, and that is, the elbow is right at the horizontal line at the top of her head. So the elbow is down here, there, and repeating the same detail that I've done up here. These two hands are closer together. So closer in the distance, they're very, very close to each other. And same thing, give it a dark shadow, the turn of the elbow, and the elbow here, sorry, the wrist there. And a little bit less dark here. So darker on that, because it's your first elbow. So darker here. You have a dark cast shadow of the elbow, and then you have the breast down here. That's a dark cast shadow. That's the armpit of the other arm, and darker here. And you can play with that, and also darken the core shadow. That's the core shadow, and a little bit of lighter here. Look, with your fingers. And the pinky is too big on that at this stage, so I can restrict the pinky, make it smaller, and you can add a little bit more information if you wish, with some more fingers there, moving away, and cast shadow of that. There you go. And as we said, the fingers here, moving inwards, as we said earlier on the palm. There. Now, where else do you need to, well, these two feet here, sorry, the thighs. The thighs are a little bit more, to me, that looks like a square, look. So, isolate this as a square. This is like a rectangular shape, which is looking, it's basically a square like this, to start like this, a square, and then a rectangular shape moving like that. And then you have a middle tone at the top, lighter tone, lighter here, darker on this side, and even darker on the cast shadow side. And then, do you see? You see, the most simplest form is this, basically this one. So when they have a light drawing and they stay for 5 minutes, you don't have time to do anything more than that. It's basically that. Isolate this, and obviously, as I said, that's a square, but that square moves inwards that way. So that square comes, it becomes, and it's not, obviously it's not a square, but we call it a square to simplify it. To simplify and know what, so that's the calf moving away. So this is that. You see that calf here? That's moving away towards her crotch area. And there you are. And obviously it's not as dark as that. This top middle tone is like this. It's not as dark. Then that line of so there you are. The roundness of, look, the roundness of the kneecap, crotch area, dark, 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 and then obviously you have the other rectangular shape, which is her other thigh here. And there you go. Huh? The simplest form, basically. And then that's how you have, well, maybe that's a little bit darker, obviously, but that's something that you either darken it or lighten it depending on what you've done previously. And you have the, in this case I darken it because it's not as dark, but here it's dark as well. So that area, that cast shadow is almost as dark as the thigh itself. So that's why I'm darkening this. But also it's important to the way you use the charcoal. Look, if you use it this way, it creates the impression of roundness. Look, like this. See, it makes more sense because as I'm moving the finger this way, I'm actually moving, and it's like a sculptor who will sculpt the clay like this, so there, and here as well. Look, and move it that way, inwards and downwards like this, and create the core shadow again. Look, if I've lost it, I can bring it back again. That's the core shadow. Yeah. And obviously here, although it's too dark there, I think it will help if I do that here, just here, look. And then it creates the impression of the cylinder. Well, from rectangular shape became a cylinder because it's closer to a cylinder than a rectangular shape, the foot. And the foot is basically, it's a very simple or more rounded form, especially on a female. Then that's on the hip, that's the end of her hip, and the cast shadow here. And middle tones, and then this here, look, the where she's sitting is actually reflecting so much to the kneecap that I lost that line here. You see that there's no line here? So you can replicate that because that would be a nice thing to do. It's basically, it makes it less robotic and more organic. So lose that line here, look, this one. And lighter tone of value, and lighter here. And then lighter at the top of the thigh if you want. And again, coming back here and do the calf as the calf moves towards the crotch area. Moving towards the crotch area and becoming darker as it moves to the darker there. Yeah. And instead of doing too many lines, just do one, so it creates the impression of knowing where we are there. And then you lose that line here, and then see, it looks more like a thigh at the moment. And crotch area here. Dark. Dark and a middle tone actually there, look. There we are. Does that help?
Yes.
Well, we got all the details, head, hands, arm, armpit here, which I didn't actually have the time to do it, but yeah, that's the other shoulder, shoulder, yeah, the shoulder, right shoulder is here. You can either darken the shoulder like this, and look, it's not dark there. Well, it's a bit of a middle tone there, but you can darken it the actual dark, like proper dark shadow. Or you can do the other thing. Look, darken the background, and that brings the shoulder towards us, and highlights on the elbow itself, which is there, and makes that upper arm a bit longer by bringing the elbow forward like that, and then highlight there. Well, here we are. Okay.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
So hopefully that, yeah, this little, I think those little, by explaining in parts, body parts, will help to create a whole later on.
Yes.
Yes.
In that particular image,
Well, let's continue with that and progress a bit more. Let's say if I was to work a little bit more on the portrait, which I think it's not needed because, as I said, it's not a portrait, it's a figure drawing. Well, you can obviously highlight a little bit on the face. If you want to be a bit more specific, put the tear duct here, the eye, which was not added earlier on, the other day actually. Then you have the forehead, work it a little bit more detailed with the light. Here, the light. You got the cheek bone right here. You have the nose right there. Philtrum, you have the lower lip. And you have a light tone of the arm here, and that goes right to the shoulder. Bit of a light tone on the neck, darker tone under the neck, darker tone with my brush here, with some dust. You have the darker tone there, a lighter tone of the hair which merges with the background. Hair is obviously, it's a soft material which can blend or should blend easily with the background. A bit more dust, charcoal dust, willow charcoal dust to be precise. And we don't see the ear. The ear is onto a shadow. See, ear is just not being seen at all. So don't put too much attention or too much effort on the ear. But what I should put more effort is here on the hair, darker, dark on the cheekbone, and the ear is part of that dark shadow, general dark shadow. Then you have a little bit more of a hair here, which is rounded, soft. Again, you have a middle tone here onto the cast shadow of the hair onto the forehead, eyebrow, nostril. Again, I'm being actually a lot more detailed than I should have been. But if you because some of you might choose to work on the portrait, well, there you are, a little bit more of a detailed version of actually, or even of what I see there, because even the portrait on the original, it's not too detailed because that's not where the artist put his attention. Or what artist wanted to draw is actually darker, lower lip, cheek. Yeah, the artist was not intended to draw on a portrait, to work on a portrait. So you have the knuckle here, middle tone onto the upper arm, Do you remember I've darkened that, so it gives more of a lighter tonal value to the shoulder. And actually you can merge the shoulder with the background. Softer tonal value there. And the eyebrow, kind of give it a different tone to the eyebrow. A lighter tone here. And you have the elbow and a lighter tone under the elbow there. And you have that shadow here, or lighter tone, and then as I mentioned, as I've done that detail there, the hands are going to work a little bit more, but not too much more, not a lot more there. You can blend that flesh tone, middle tone, well, darker flesh tone with the background here. And lose those very, very sharp edges and lines. Now you can choose to work or to not work that at all. See, just push this ear, sorry, that ear. I mean the hand, the arm, push it totally back like that. And that will artificially push or create the impression of background. So the hand, the whole arm moves on the background, but then you cannot leave it like that. You need some. You can push it like that, like what I've actually done, but what I'm referring to, you need a little bit more detail to that. So yes, you can push it by creating that ghostly image, but also you need a little bit more of a volume by adding. You might say, why you push in the first place? Well, it's another way of doing it. You don't have to do it. Another way of pushing back the arm is by completely giving it a quick swipe of with your hands here. There. And the hands themselves, I mean the fingers here. Well, there we are. And maybe a little bit less dark here. The breast area. And by pushing it that way, by making the hand smaller, or basically by pushing it, you create a smaller hand. Then you have that negative shape here, maybe a bit less angular, lighter here, lighter there to lose the line, lighter here, lighter onto the bicep, and highlights here onto the fingers themselves. That looks kind of like a broken arm, actually. Yeah. All right. Well, let's give it another attempt. And yeah, the problem is that I just lowered it too much. I have to bring that arm there. So a bit further up. Fix it not to look like a broken arm. If it looks on me, it might look on some, so basically, of you, so basically gather the courage and start it again. That's the shortest way to fix it. Start it again. darker. Fingers all merged together here. Then you have the dark for the thumb. And all the fingers blended together there. All right, well, kind of a bit better. Is that a word? You know what I mean? Bit better. There you go. Kind of blended here, and then some highlights here, or a little bit of lighter here. And that arm here, sorry, the arm, the hand and the arm here. Well, here we are. Okay, let's go now to the main figure. Is here. Now, what I should emphasize a lot more, first of all, that left leg is further to the left. Vertical line from the head straight to vertical line, head straight to here. So that calf is right actually there. And you have a dark shadow here. Thigh at the top, side of the thigh. Kind of a rounded darker line to give an impression of form. A rib cage. Belly here. And hip. Yeah. And a darker tone for the thigh on the right. That's a breast. Don't know why I've done that line there. Don't remember why. But the breast is actually here. Armpit, breast, and the shadow of the breast here. Core shadow of the belly. Softer shadow on the belly itself here. And the foot right up there, foot right up actually here. And you can play around with the background here to create the end of her, or the end of her niqab. And the softer tonal value here, softer tonal value there. With a putty, getting rid of those middle tones. Now it's very, very light here, but it's a very soft middle tone on that niqab thigh here. And highlight on her breast, which is the lightest light after the belly, which is here. Here we are. And those tonal those lines actually are soft lines which come right down here. And you've got the arm here, you've got the hand, which is the one where it was on a more of a zoom in what was going on or what should go on, or that's how I see it at the end of the day. You know, you don't have to do it, but these are always, as I say, these are guidelines, or my opinion. Hopefully it will help you. And how I would tackle it. Again, now she's a bit more chubby on me, actually. Chubbier, which I think I can bring her and trim her like that. Oh, if that was so easy to trim yourself like this. If that was in reality, if we could all do that. Okay. Back to the drawing here now. A bit more of a, oh yeah, still that's hugely, I mean that's big, big thigh. Let's give it a trim here. And down here, cut that line. Add the niqab and the core shadow, darker hip, rib cage, shadow of the arm, right there, knee, her elbow, pinky moving that way. Again, portrait, as I said, keep it light, keep it at a minimum information or impression, kind of. And then you have the belly, that thigh, that darkness of the thigh is right down here, there, and it moves down here, and you have some core shadow of the thigh here. And the kneecap. Well, okay, well, it's kind of a quickish sketch, to be honest, but it's roughly in character. It's just that my lady here is chubbier. Doesn't really matter. I can elongate it even more, bring it down here, or bring that up, or make. I think I don't want to tire the drawing. Sorry. It's okay. She's younger. I don't know if she's younger, but it looks here she's longer, not younger. I was actually younger, but also longer. So that kneecap, I can actually push it there if you like. And that makes the thigh longer. Hopefully that will give me more of a elongated thigh here. There. And the kneecap, which moves right that way. There. And you got a vertical line which goes right of the head, or I can bring the head a bit further back. So vertical line right down to the kneecap, there. And the crotch area, which actually is right here, there. All right, I think I'm done with this. It's good enough. It's a quick sketch. And keep that light. This, the hand which moves backwards, a bit further back. Hand, a bit lighter than that. Elbow, bring the elbow more into prominence in the sense that highlight. Shoulder, emphasize the shoulder a bit more. All right, and the highlight on the top of the arm. Leave the portrait with that minimum detail or exposure. I don't want to put more details to that. Again, smaller head. Lighter upper arm. And lose those dark shadows there. Okay, I think it works as it is. Let me darken the fingers where they are all tied up together. Elbow. Okay, and a little bit wider here. Yeah. But if I make it wider on that side, I should trim it on the upper side. Alrighty, I'll give it a little certain look. There, a certain look here, certain a little bit less dark here on the armpit. There, lighter on the breast, lighter, lighter. Keep those highlights here. Chubbier thigh. There, but I don't want to keep it too bright, so I want to keep the lightest light for the belly. All right, I'll leave it at that. It's actually feels movement. Yes, that's important. That's important. All right, see you on the next one.